Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here doing this right this minute. I'm so happy to be back. I was away and now I'm here. Only here is actually away because I'm at the cottage recording this. And that would explain, if you're watching this on YouTube, my amazing cottage hair that I did absolutely nothing to try and control for you. So you are very welcome. I hope it makes you feel like you're here at the cottage with me. This is Ottawa River hair specifically. It would also explain if you hear dogs barking down the road or the neighbor doing construction on his garage, which he's been doing for 5 consecutive years. So what a magnificent garage it is too, at least in size, if nothing else. Okay, that's not fair. The color is also lovely. It's like a greenish blue. It's like a dark, it doesn't matter. We're here at the cottage and we are back. So welcome to Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea, Season 1, Episode 7, Skin Deep. And guess what we're talking about? That's right. We're talking about outbreaks and oily skin and dry skin, damaged skin, premature aging skin, youthful skin, and the lifestyle choices and nutrition choices that we make that either are helpful or detrimental to the health of our skin and the look of it, of course, as well. So before I jump in to all the facts and tips and what have you, I just want to say that I know that a lot of people feel super discouraged because they think that because something runs in their family, it is out of their control or unavoidable. And in some circumstances, that is true. That is the case. But there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that shows that our environment and the lifestyle choices that we make and the nutrition choices that we make actually can switch on and off the genes in our DNA that determine whether or not you're afflicted by these conditions and to what extent. So just because something runs in your family, and even if you get it, it doesn't mean that you are necessarily going to have it as severely as someone else or everyone else in your family had it. It can really depend on your lifestyle choices, your nutrition choices, and your environment. I'm just saying this to hopefully give you a bit of optimism and a feeling of, empowerment in knowing that you do have control over a lot more of this than you realize. And that does include skin conditions, because I know there are skin conditions that run in the family. So do not despair. It probably doesn't mean that you have to have the exact same experience as everyone or anyone else in your family. Okay, that having been said, we're going to dive in and we're going to start with some of the most common skin conditions that people are challenged with. So this one is really, really common and most typically associated with adolescence and prepubescence, pregnancy, menopause, basically any big hormonal shift, and that is acne, which is the inflammation and clogging of the pores and your hair follicles. Many, many, many people have acne who are not teenagers, who are not pregnant, who are not menopausal, and who are not even experiencing any kind of hormonal fluctuation. And there are many potential causes for acne. So I'm going to go through a bunch of them right now. These are things for anyone who suffers from acne to explore. So environmental endocrine disrupting chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, and other chemicals that are found in our beauty products or hygiene products or cleaning products, and even sometimes in the chemicals that are in the fabrics that some of our furniture is made out of. That's one. Medications like antibiotics, hormone birth control, steroids, those can all definitely provoke acne breakouts. So can stress. Stress is a big one. I'm sure if you haven't experienced it, I'm sure you know someone who has said like, oh, I'm breaking out everywhere. I've been under a lot of stress. Smoking, evil, 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 bad, bad, bad for so many reasons, and particularly terrible for your skin. Smoking is just so bad for your skin. It dries out your skin. It can give you sort of a gross gray color to your skin. It will definitely contribute to premature aging. So wrinkling, especially those lines all around your mouth. Just no, bad. Don't smoke. Just don't do it. Don't do it for lots of reasons, but we're just talking about skin today. Okay, so any medical problem that causes general inflammation can be triggering for acne as well. And so can the narrowing of your skin pores and the increased production of sebum during the period leading up to your period, literally. So a lot of women find that when they're PMSing, they'll tend to break out more. Sometimes it's because of the binge eating that they're doing, and sometimes it's just really because of their hormones causing that narrowing of the skin pores. And like I said, the increased production of the sebum. General inflammation can also cause inflammation of your skin, which can also then lead to acne. PCOS, so polycystic ovary syndrome, one of the symptoms of that is acne breakouts. Insulin resistance can cause acne. Fluctuating, like dramatically fluctuating blood sugar levels can contribute to acne. So can gut dysbiosis or compromised microbiome, which I love talking about, and you already know that. And I'm going to talk about it some more today because it's really important, and there's definitely a connection. Some people actually find or notice an almost immediate, and by almost immediate, I mean like within hours or a day, reaction to certain foods. So some people eat fried foods and they find that they break out the next morning, or chocolate, for example, can be another one. There's probably many others as well. So that's really something to pay attention to. And the reason why I'm pointing that out, aside from the fact that it's one of the many causes of acne, or why I guess I want to stress to you to pay careful attention to that, isn't just because you will break out, but if your body is reacting to that food to the point where you can see it on your face or on your skin, probably there's stuff going on inside as well. So the reaction that you're having is probably not just external, and maybe you can't see it or feel it, but I would imagine that there is probably some upset going on internally as well in reaction to the food that you ate. Vitamin deficiency, vitamin D, for example, can cause acne as well. So can over cleansing and over exfoliation. What? I know it sounds backwards, but it really can cause acne. And I'll explain that a bit in a while. And then dairy. Dairy is the worst also. I know I said smoking was the worst. I think I said it. I should have. If I didn't, smoking's the worst, but dairy is also the worst. It is so bad. So I would say like dairy and smoking are two things that many people who suffer from acne have found that if they cut them out entirely, their skin clears up entirely. So that says a lot. And it's dairy for sure is the first dietary suggestion. Well, not dairy, but removing dairy from your diet is like the first dietary recommendation I would make for anyone who's experiencing issues with their skin, first and foremost. So more and more research highlights the link between dairy and acne. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't know if the reason is because of all the hormones that is in breast milk, because there are a lot. Obviously, the cow was pregnant and now they're feeding the baby. It's just like humans. There's a ton of hormones in that milk. And then on top of that, for standard dairy, a lot of those cows have been injected with hormones as well. So there's the additional hormones, and none of these hormones belong to you. So I don't know if it's that. I mean, I know that all of that is true. I just don't know if that is what's causing the acne. I don't know if it's because dairy is such an inflammatory food, which it absolutely is, just one of the most inflammatory foods that you can eat. And as I said before, acne is inflammation and clogging of the pores. So I don't know if it's the inflammation caused by the dairy or a combination of the inflammation and the hormones, or if there's even some other cause altogether related to the dairy. But I do know that there's definitely a link between the two. So if you do have acne and you don't understand why it's happening, and if you do consume dairy, my advice to you right this second, this very, very moment while you're listening to this, is stop. Just stop consuming any kind of dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, for like 3 weeks, and see if that makes any difference at all. And let me know, because I want to know. I mean, you don't have to let me know, but I would love to know how that worked out for you. All right. So give you a couple of do's and don'ts for acne, just to sort of, reinforce what I just said. So don't give in to the temptation to overwash and over exfoliate your skin. It's important to keep your skin clean, of course. You don't want your pores to clog up more. I totally get that. But at the same time, if you're over cleaning and stripping your skin of its natural oils, not only are you dehydrating your skin, but you're sort of giving your skin the message that it needs to produce more oil, because the oil that it's producing is gone. There's not enough of it. So you might get stuck in this trap where you're washing your face more, and then you find your skin's even more oily, which makes you wash your skin more, which makes your skin even more oily, and so on and so forth. Or on the other end, you just might end up totally dehydrating your skin. And that's just another issue. You've replaced one issue with the other. Also, honestly, just washing your face too much is not going to cure your acne anyway. So my second don't is don't consume super inflammatory foods like dairy, which I said, and foods that are fried, fatty, like high saturated fat foods, refined sugars, refined flours, excess caffeine. I mean, like a cup of coffee a day should be fine. But if you're one of those people who just drinks coffee all day, just cut that crap out. Avoid things like colas and sodas. Reduce your salt intake. So try to avoid high sodium foods, and don't smoke. It's the worst with dairy. Some things you do definitely want to do is to try and keep your blood sugar levels stable. So try eating small, frequent meals instead of eating 1, 2, or 3 giant meals a day with big spaces in between, just to avoid those high blood sugar jumps and then crashes. So also be mindful of eating foods that are not super high on the glycemic index as well. Do limit the amount of chemicals that you expose yourself to, whether it is in the foods that you're eating, like artificial flavors, artificial colors, preservatives, chemicals in your personal hygiene products, your beauty products, your cleaning products around the house. Definitely limit the amount of chemicals that you're exposed to, and any medications that you take that are not necessary. Only the medications that are not necessary. I'm not talking about your necessary medications. I'm talking about if you, every time you get a bit of an ache or a pain, or a bit of a headache, instead of having a glass of water and resting, you just pop an Advil or a Tylenol. I'm talking about if you get a little tiny bit of a stomach upset and it's a bit uncomfortable, so you just take an antacid. I don't know what else do people take for no reason that they don't need, but there's plenty of it out there. So any unnecessary medications, please avoid. Stay hydrated, super important. Eat a diverse variety of plant-based whole foods, and then make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. As I pointed out earlier, it can be a vitamin D deficiency that's causing the acne. And I have a hot tip for you. Speaking of vitamins, dietary and topical zinc can be helpful in treating acne. You can get zinc creams. I know at most health food stores, maybe you can get them at pharmacies. I'm not sure. I've never looked. Not that I've never looked at a pharmacy, but not for zinc topical cream. And just incorporate a lot of zinc rich foods in your diet. So if you're not already eating them, please incorporate nuts and seeds and legumes and tofu and tahini and quinoa. And I'm actually going to put a link in the show notes for you with a list of plant-based whole foods that are rich in zinc. So you can check that out if you're interested in getting more zinc into your diet. So yes. The next condition on my list is psoriasis, which is dry, red, scaly, sometimes peeling plaques on your skin. So it's these patches on areas in your skin. They can be different for different people, but basically you have like very inflamed red skin, and then sometimes these like patches of white, scaly, flaky skin on top. It can be incredibly uncomfortable. It can be itchy. It can be excruciatingly painful. And it is most commonly on the elbows, the knees, and the scalp, but it can really, truly be anywhere on your body. And it can be little tiny patches, and it can be very large areas of the skin. And basically, it is typically caused by an autoimmune condition. So, as we know, autoimmune conditions are very much linked with inflammation. So, I definitely recommend that if you do have psoriasis, you be very mindful that the diet you're eating is very low in inflammatory foods. Psoriasis can also be linked to or partnered up with or the cause of other conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and other sorts of inflammation of the joints. And well, it can become quite serious actually, but the cause is unknown. And while the cause is unknown at the moment, there are definite proven triggers of the flare-up. So typically someone who has psoriasis hopefully is not constantly in a flare-up, and it comes and goes, or it worsens and lessens. And some of the very clear proven triggers would include stress, toxins like tobacco and alcohol, again, chemical products that you're exposing yourself to, nutritional deficiencies, and a sluggish liver. There's definitely also a fair amount of research showing that people who have psoriasis, who are exceeding their, I guess, ideal body weight, are more likely to have flare-ups than people who stay within the range of what's ideal or healthy body weight for them. It is highly recommended that anyone with psoriasis make sure that they're getting adequate intake of their omega fatty acids, definitely, and then also to have a lot of foods that are rich in antioxidants. So vitamins A, C, E, selenium, B9, and again, zinc. And a fun fact for you that I don't know anything about, but I'm still going to share it with you, is that in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, sea buckthorn is used as treatment for psoriasis and for eczema. I have no idea if it works. I've never tried it, and I don't know anyone who's tried it, but if anybody listening to this has used sea buckthorn as a treatment for either psoriasis or eczema, please reach out and tell me, because I would really love to know what your experience with that was or is, if you're doing it currently as well. So speaking of eczema and hot on the tail of sea buckthorn, eczema is a skin disorder that manifests itself in the form of very dry, red, irritated, inflamed, itchy, and sometimes very painful skin. And the lesions can be really tiny little patches, much like psoriasis, or they can be, your entire hands, for example. It can take up a lot of space. It can be mildly annoying, or it can be excruciatingly painful and almost debilitating. And it can also be caused by different things. The thing about eczema is that it can feel to some people like it's sort of like a blanket term for angry skin, basically. A lot of people can go to the doctor, have the doctor tell them that they have eczema, and just sort of send them on their way and tell them, like, wear rubber gloves when you do the dishes, or wear, I don't know, put lotion on, or even prescribe to you a cortisone cream, which is a steroid cream that might calm the eczema, or even, sort of cure the actual eczema on the surface. I'm hesitating. I guess this is a good spot actually to refer back to what I said about holistic approach. So typically, but not always, but typically, a holistic nutritionist or naturopath would not just prescribe a cream that would treat this symptom. So eczema is a condition, it is a problem, but it's also a symptom. It doesn't just happen for no reason. And if we put a cream on it that we know will make the eczema go away, we won't know what's at the root cause of it, what other damage is being done, where it's coming from, and how to stop it from coming back if that's possible. So when someone goes to the doctor and the doctor just tells them you have eczema, they're not, I just want to say not all doctors would do that. I'm just saying it's very common for someone to just, because it really, eczema can mean so many different things. It's just very common for people to go be told that they have eczema and either told to be careful and moisturize or to be given a steroid cream and not have any more sort of digging into what's going on happen. So like I said, it can be caused by many different things. It can be caused by an autoimmune condition. So again, an anti-inflammatory diet is really important. It can be caused by food or environmental allergies. It can be caused by stress. It can even be caused by dehydration of the skin. It can be caused by external irritants, chemicals, soaps, lotions, fragrances, laundry detergents, you name it. It can also be microbial or bacterial. So sometimes it's actually associated with a bacterial or fungal infection as well. And also eczema can be a symptom of an intestinal condition. So it might even be that you have an imbalance in your gut microbiome, for example, or if you have irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease, or well, anyway, I'm not going to get into the gut at great lengths here, but intestinally speaking, you could have another issue going on. And the way that you are seeing it is that you are having an eczema flare up, I'll call it. From the point of view of naturopathy, eczema is caused by an excess of acidity in the body. And we know that the kidneys and the lungs are normally the major routes of expulsion or elimination of acids generated by food digestion and metabolism. And when your kidneys and lungs are not functioning optimally, or they're struggling, your skin can try and take over. So this can then lead to your skin becoming inflamed and problematic. By this philosophy, if it interests you, by this philosophy, what you would want to do is really minimize the amount of acidifying foods in your diet. So these are basically the same as the inflammatory foods, not entirely, but basically the same as the inflammatory foods that I mentioned earlier. So again, it's meats and fish and poultry, eggs, dairy, foods that are high in saturated fats, refined sugars, refined flours, caffeine, alcohol, all the fun stuff. And and then contrarily, the alkalizing foods that you do want to increase in your diet would be in the form of fresh fruits and vegetables, apples and apricots, avocados, watermelons, vegetables like sweet potato and asparagus and broccoli, also soy, nuts, pumpkin seeds, seaweeds, sea vegetables. There's a ton of it. And I just realized that I could probably spend 20 minutes listing the two differences. So what I'll do is I'll actually also leave a link in the show notes to a list or two lists, to a page with two lists, one of the acidifying foods and one with alkalizing foods on it. If you're interested, you can go have a look at that. So physical activity is very helpful because it sort of stimulates circulation and stimulates the emunctory functions that I was talking about. So getting your kidneys and your lungs going so that your skin doesn't feel so inclined to step in. And then exercise is also great. Stress management, eczema is definitely triggered by stress, or the flare-ups are definitely triggered by stress as well. So obviously, exercise can help a bit for that. And then any other stress management that you can do. Well, I don't know if you can hear that dog screaming its head off. And if you can, I'm sorry. I promise you he's happy. He's just very excitable dog that lives down the road. Some skin conditions can make people feel incredibly self-conscious, even if they're really common, like common to the point where there's ads about them all over the internet and on television and what have you. And one example would be dandruff, which is seborrheic dermatitis. And dandruff manifests as flaky and itchy and sometimes extremely itchy skin on your scalp. So it's an overgrowth of skin bacteria and yeasts and an overactive cell turnover. There are over-the-counter medicated or antifungal dandruff shampoos that you can buy at the pharmacy or at the health food store. Those work for some people and not so much for others. And some people just don't want to use them because the ones, particularly at the pharmacy at least, often have other chemicals that can irritate the skin, or just, chemicals that people don't want to expose themselves to. So for those of you who do use those and find them useful, there's that. There are some natural remedies as well that some people like, and I will, of course, put a link in the show notes to some recipes for some more natural remedies, rinses, and what have you, that you may or may not find helpful. And then, like any kind of overgrowth, it's just really important to balance out your microbiome, make sure that all your bacteria are happy and plentiful that need to be, and that your bad bacteria are not multiplying at record speed. So again, the nutrition choices are super important here. Your lifestyle choices are super important here. And they're basically all the ones that I've already listed. And if I haven't listed all of them yet, they are coming. But just being super mindful that you're taking really good care of yourself will help tons. In addition, though, again, zinc, topical and nutritional zinc can come in very handy for treating dandruff. And sometimes it can be actually caused by a deficiency in zinc. So again, not a bad idea to get checked. It's a super easy test. Someone puts a drop in your mouth, you tell them if it tastes salty or not, and then we have the answer. Really, really easy. No needles, no swabs, no, I can't remember what other, you don't have to pee in anything. You literally just taste a drop and tell us, is this salty or not? So like I said before, there are creams that you can get, topical ointments with zinc in them. And then there's all the zinc rich foods that I mentioned earlier. And then also in the show notes, that magical link that's going to be there. And if you're listening to this, that means it's already there. Go check it out. So rosacea is a skin condition that I think has kind of a cute name. I don't know if it's just me, but it kind of sounds like it could be the name of a person or a wine, rosacea. It's a reddening inflammation of the skin, typically on the face, but not only. Sometimes it's on the chest. That's where I get it. Sometimes it's on the neck, and sometimes it's on the back. And sometimes it's accompanied by a thickening of the skin and even acne. So acne rosacea is a chronic disorder that affects both the skin and the eyes, which means that you can also have very red, itchy, and painful eyes, as well as the skin on your face. Typically, not always, the rosacea will cover, your cheeks, your nose, like that sort of area. But it's not to be confused with the butterfly rash that you find most commonly afflicts people who have lupus. I didn't word that well at all. So what I want to say is Rosacea is not the same thing as the butterfly rash that people who have lupus tend to get. That's what I want to say. And it looks similar-ish, but it's not the same, or it can look similar. Although people with autoimmune conditions like lupus also tend to often get rosacea. So rosacea, my recommendation for you is to avoid the triggers, and they're usually pretty obvious. So some people find that exposure to the sun or too much exposure to the sun makes them have a flare up. Some people just find heat in general. When they start overheating, their rosacea pops up. Some people find if they drink red wine, their rosacea flares up. And am I forgetting anything? You might have other stressors. I don't know. I know it sounds very vague. I don't know why I feel put on the spot. I think it's because I have it. And for me personally, it's when I tend to overheat. So if I go for a jog or I'm exercising, my heart rate goes up. I tend to get it. Like I said before, it's on my chest. So I get very red in the chest. But then I will also sometimes break out into hives because I seem to be allergic to exercise in general. So I still do it, but I just get very red and itchy when if my heart rate really gets up. So my trainer, my boxing trainer, he likes to make fun of me and say, "Oh, I can tell that you're warming up now. I can tell because you're breaking out into hives." And then anyways, whatever. So rosacea, my recommendations for you is simply to be mindful of and avoid the triggers. Because like I said, they tend to be pretty obvious. Speaking of things that are triggered by the sun, photosensitivity is not so much a heat reaction as it is literally a reaction to the actual sun exposure on their skin. And not only the sun. I've had a lot of people tell me that they react to even artificial lights that have caused a rash for them. So my mom, for example, when she was having a lot of flare-ups, couldn't stand next to a photocopy machine without getting a photosensitivity rash on the part of her body that was exposed to the light. Some doctors believed her, some doctors didn't, and it's irrelevant. The fact is that's what would happen. So she would stay away from the photocopy machine. Photosensitivity can be a reaction that is mild, or it can be very severe hives and extreme redness and pain. And it can be caused by an allergy to the sun, apparently. It can be caused by a B3, so niacin deficiency. It can be a side effect from certain medications, a lot of medications actually. And most of the time when you get a prescription, if photosensitivity is a side effect, it will say it right on the bottle. So to be careful to stay out of sun while you're on that medication. And then depending on the dosage and the medication, usually it'll tell you for how many days after you finish the prescription to stay out of the direct sun. Photosensitivity is also a symptom of some autoimmune disorders like lupus. And in all counts, the treatment is the same. And that is to say that you should avoid direct, at least prolonged exposure to the sun. Now, if you are so photosensitive that you can't even have that minimum 20 to 30 minutes of sun exposure a day to ensure adequate intake of vitamin D, please, 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 please make sure that you're taking 2,000 or 3,000 IU of vitamin D every day. Super important. You really need that vitamin D. For those of you who can go outside for a little while, I really do mean 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. I'm without sunscreen, but 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not saying go outside in the middle of the day when the sun is the strongest and the hottest and lay there for hours and bake in the sun. I don't want you to do that. In fact, if you're going to be outside for prolonged periods of time, I definitely want you to wear your sunscreen and your hat and your sunglasses and your tight woven clothes that are, covering your most sensitive parts. And when you wear sunscreen, make sure that you put it on your hands as well, like all of your skin that is exposed. That's why I got super excited there. I can't even remember what I'm trying to tell you. Oh, yes. But if you can't go out, make sure you take that vitamin D. I think everybody, or at least almost everybody in the world at some point, even if it only ever so briefly, has experienced having dry skin. And dry skin can literally just be dry. Like you look at your skin and you're like, oh, my skin looks a bit dry, like maybe a bit more wrinkly or alligatory than usual. Or it can be horrible, painful, red, flaky, cracked, dry, or anywhere in between. And it can literally be a symptom of dryness, meaning dehydration. It can be an EFA deficiency, so your omega fatty acids, your omega 3s. It can be a B2 deficiency, that's riboflavin. Some times it's a B7, so biotin deficiency. You could be low on vitamin E, or you could be having an overload, not deficiency, an overload of vitamin A. So if you are able, please look into all of those possibilities. One really easy way to know if what's causing it is, say, for example, you are low in omega-3 fatty acids, is to simply increase your intake of omega-3 fatty acids and see if that helps. So throw an extra tablespoon of flax in your smoothie, and make sure you're eating plenty of nuts and seeds, for example. I have on my website, sweetvegan.net, a page all about omegas and plant-based sources of them. So if you think you might be low in omega-3 fatty acids, go have a look at that and you'll get some examples of ways that you can boost that in your diet. Definitely you want to be eating hydrating foods, like lots of fresh, preferably raw fruits, vegetables. I don't mean all of them should be raw. I'm just saying get a lot of the raw ones. Aim for 1.5 to 2 liters of liquids a day. And it doesn't just have to be water, but if you're drinking, like actually having a drink because you're thirsty, please make that water. But I just mean also if you have a tea or a smoothie or a clear soup, all of that contributes to your intake. So what else? Oh, also do keep in mind, I have talked about this on other episodes, but I just want to remind you that staying hydrated doesn't just mean drinking water. There's water that you drink that goes, into your bloodstream and into your digestive system, and you pee it out, and that's great. And you don't want to be dehydrated. And if you think you might be dehydrated, if you're urinating very infrequently or it's very dark when you do, there's a chance that you're not getting enough liquids. So definitely drink more water. But being dehydrated also can be that your cells are not hydrated. And if your cells are damaged, they have a very, very difficult time staying hydrated. So that's not something you can fix by just merely drinking more water. Things that can damage your cells, there are a bunch of things that can be damaging to your cells, but some of the most common things would be exposure to chemicals, like pesticides and herbicides and, artificial flavors and colors and preservatives and chemicals that are in your beauty products and your cleaning products. You guys sick of me saying this yet? I don't know how many times I've said this in this episode, but hear me. Avoid that crap. It can not only be very hard on your skin, not only very hard on your microbiome, not only can it cause cancer and all kinds of other horrible things, but it can damage your actual cells and make it very hard for them to stay hydrated. As well as that, extreme stress and trauma can be damaging to your cells, and so can exposure to wireless technologies that put out a high electrical resonance. So if you, for example, work with your wireless modem right next to you all day, stop doing that. please, 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 if you can, move it either to the other side of the room or a totally different room if possible. It's not always possible to keep your signal and do that. But if you can, don't even have it in the same room as you. Don't keep your cell phone on your person all the time. So bad for you. What else? Oh, don't just your cell phone in the bedroom with you at night. And don't tell me it's your alarm clock. Just invest in an alarm clock and leave your phone outside of the bedroom. Sorry, I got bossy there. That was intense. Sorry. I'm saying this very lovingly. And as a suggestion to you, if you would like to take better care of your cells, put your cell phone in a different room when you go to bed at night so that you're not laying right next to it, probably near your head for those 7 to 9 hours of excellent quality sleep that you're getting. And some people even just turn off the modem entirely before they go to bed, which is even better if you can do that. Do that too. Get the phone out of your room, turn the wireless modem, the internet off completely at night because you're not using it anyway. And there you go. Keep those cells hydrated. Wow, got excited there for a second. I'm gonna not reluctantly, but I'm going to add, okay, my dog just came to see me. Hi, hello, Nina. I am going to add to this list of conditions 2 things that I would not actually qualify as a condition, but are things that happen to our skin that a lot of people feel very self-conscious about, don't like about themselves or their skin, and spend obscene amounts of money on products trying to fix. One of them is wrinkles. And wrinkles is basically a loss of elasticity, depleted collagen, dehydration, sun damage. So a certain amount of wrinkling is going to happen to everyone. It is a sign of aging, and that is just a fact. So there's no cure for aging at the moment because aging is not a malady. So that is not something you can stop from happening naturally speaking. But some people have wrinkles because they're dehydrated. And so hydrating yourself and keeping yourself hydrated, whether it's by drinking liquids or taking better care of your actual little cells in your body, is certainly helpful for anyone. And then people who are experiencing wrinkles because they are showing signs of premature aging, definitely everything I just said about nutrition and about lifestyle can be helpful to you. So for the 4 millionth time, stay hydrated and, manage your stress levels and be kind to your skin. Like literally everything that I said already can be helpful to you, no matter what age you are. But definitely if these are premature signs of aging. And then stretch marks is the second one. And I'm not ending on this because I feel like I won't be very popular. So don't worry. As soon as I finish talking about stretch marks, I'm going to jump into something really inspiring and exciting, which is empowering you to take control and make change, whatever. Okay. So anyway, stretch mark, if you look at a stretch mark on your body, if you have any, you will just see that your skin has literally been stretched. There are a million products probably out there claiming that they can get rid of your stretch marks and in fact also your wrinkles. And some, probably very few, but some of these products at best can diminish the appearance of these things, of stretch marks and of wrinkles. No product can take you back in time and unstretch your skin. And some people have a very beautiful and Zen-like approach to, or view of their stretch marks. Like, oh, these are the highways of my life, or these are the roads that I don't know, whatever. This is where my babies used to live and the signs that I gave life. And I think this is very beautiful. I wish I could be like that. I'm not very bonded with my stretch marks. But I've definitely grown to just mostly not care about them. And I certainly recommend that you stop spending $1 billion on remedies and creams to get rid of them, because it's not going to happen. And I'm sorry. And I feel like a bad guy right now, but just like stop, maybe just practice some more love towards yourself. And if you, oh, hey, wait, here's some good news. If you're trying to avoid getting stretch marks in the first place, adequate iron and B12 can be helpful. And then of course, keep yourself, hydrated and moisturize and everything that I already said will be helpful in keeping your skin more elastic and, resilient. What did I want to tell you? There was something else I wanted to tell you about stretch marks. I don't know, but the thing is that it's really, well, just basically that if you have been pregnant, for example, or if you had a massive growth spurt or sudden weight gain, your skin is just going to stretch. And unless you have incredible genes where no one in your family gets stretch skin ever, or it just bounces right back without any damage, which is wonderful, and congratulations to you, you're going to get stretch marks, and it's okay. And tons of people have them. So that wasn't nearly as inspiring as I wanted it to sound. So those were some of the most common challenges that people have as far as skin conditions go. And now I'm going to move on to empowering you all to taking control and also sort of talk on a more general level. I feel like pretty much everything I already said is useful to anyone, even if you don't suffer from any of those conditions. But everything I'm saying from here on for sure is definitely applicable to everybody. So these are common general threats to your skin health and nutrition or lifestyle choices that you can make that are beneficial to your skin health. And I'm going to start with over cleansing and over exuberant exfoliating of your skin, which I have now mentioned probably a few times in this episode alone. Again, just a reminder, let your body's natural oils do their job. Don't strip your skin of them or dehydrate your skin and irritate your skin. And speaking of irritating it, when you do wash your face, for example, or any part of your body, just be mindful of what you're washing it with. Are you just using a bit of water or a natural, gentle product, or are you using a product that's full of chemicals and artificial fragrances and other stuff that's really just going to inflame and irritate your skin that much further? Or artificial ingredients that are going to also just end up clogging your pores. So yes, be careful with your skincare routine, your cleansing and exfoliating routine. The sun, which I did also mention. I'm going to stop saying that because I mentioned a lot of these things already. This is a reminder. The sun, yes, I do want you to get out and get your vitamin D. But again, please, prolonged exposure to the sun, sunscreen, cover up, sunglasses, hat, take care of your beautiful skin. Stress is killer. It's literally a killer, but also it's just killer on your skin. It's really, really, really hard on your skin. I'm sure lots of people, you've heard people say like, oh, I'm breaking out, I'm under a lot of stress right now. It flares up acne, psoriasis, eczema, everything. It just does a number on you. And prolonged stress causes premature aging for sure. Our body's cortisol levels rise, and that triggers hormonal issues. And then that triggers all kinds of skin issues, from everything that I just said to also, wrinkles and even hair loss, actually. So you really want to do yourself a solid on every aspects of your health and your mental health, and eliminate as much stress in your life as possible. And then really, really get some good tools for managing that stress that's left over, if any. Hopefully you just have no other stress. Hopefully you're just like, okay, got rid of it, I'm good. But probably not. Sleep. I didn't talk about sleep yet, I think. And sleep, well, beauty sleep is real, folks. It just is. And here's the thing. At night, our body eliminates the toxins from our body, and it eliminates the toxins from our skin. And an accumulation of toxins in your skin makes it dull, and it makes it lack elasticity. And if you have a horrible night's sleep, it's already apparent on your skin the next day. So the next morning already, it is visible that your skin didn't have the chance or the time to eliminate the toxins properly, and rejuvenate itself efficiently. So if that can happen from one bad night of sleep, imagine days, months, or even years of inadequate sleep and how that shows up on your skin. So sleep is super important. So get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Get your beauty sleep. Hydration, we talked about at length. But again, get those 1.5 to 2 liters of liquids in every day. Eat tons of hydrating fruits and vegetables. Remember what I told you about keeping your cells hydrated. When you are thirsty, don't drink sodas, drink water. Don't drink juice. It's just concentrated sugars, and some of it also has added sugar. It does a number on your blood sugar levels. You don't want that either. And then when you do drink water, try and avoid chugging liters of it at a time. Try and just sip it throughout the day, just so that you're not overloading your kidneys, and then also just filling up your belly with water and then not drinking for hours. So yes, hydrated. We've talked so much, but I'm not going to get into it any more than that. We talked about it enough. Diet and nutrition, which are my favorite. We talked about quite a bit, but some reminders for you. Sugar, refined sugar. I'm not talking about the sugar, natural sugars in a fruit or a vegetable. Go ahead, eat boatloads of berries and fruits and vegetables. But refined sugars, the ones that we find in processed foods and in pastries and cakes and cookies and ice cream and candy and chocolate and all that kind of stuff. Refined sugar is 100% terrible for your skin. So terrible. So just stay away from sugar, refined sugar. Eat berries, don't eat sugar. Inflammatory foods, horrible. Most of the conditions we talked about, I'm sure you heard me say that it's an inflammatory condition. This is an inflammation of the skin. Inflammatory foods have a detrimental effect on your skin. So foods that are inflammatory, again, are dairy. Yes, you know that. Milk, yogurt, cheese, ice cream, dairy. Foods that have high sodium content, foods that have high saturated fat content, foods that contain refined sugars, as I just said, refined flours or processed flours, and any artificial sweeteners, colors, preservatives, etc. So all these inflammatory foods also do a number on your microbiome, your gut microbiome, because by the way, your skin has a whole microbiome of its own. So remember when we were talking about an overgrowth of the bacteria on your scalp, in the case of dandruff, for example, that is an imbalance of your microbiome as well. So your gut microbiome is very much connected to all the other microbiome that's going on in your body. And there's just microbiome everywhere, by the way. It's in the earth outside, it's in the water, it's in the air that we breathe. There's just microbiome everywhere. And that's great. All these little bacterias and fungi and whatever everywhere, wonderful. It's just that when there's an imbalance that we have a problem. So again, I will probably bring this up almost every single episode where we talk about nutrition, but it's really important to take extra good care of your gut microbiome. So you want to eat a diverse variety of foods in order to do that. In addition to eating foods that are not inflammatory, for example, and then also staying hydrated and managing your stress. but you want to eat a diverse variety of foods because, and I know I've talked about this before, but it's super important. You have so many different sort of varieties of bacteria making up your microbiome. And each of those varieties of bacteria eat a very different kind of food, let's say. So if you're eating the same foods day after day after day, like the same few foods day after day, you're only feeding some of those bacteria properly. So they grow and they grow and they grow, but the other ones are not getting what they need. So there's an imbalance there. And in fact, one of the kings of the microbiome, and I say one because to me there's at least two, but one of the kings of the gut microbiome, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz, recommends aiming at 30 completely different fruits, vegetables, and grains in a week. So I don't mean 30 fruits, 30 vegetables, and 30 grains. That's too much food. Well, I mean, if you had very small portions, I guess you could pull that off. I think he means 30 in total, and it's not 30 servings. It's 30 completely different. So like blueberries is one, and spinach is another one, and quinoa is another one, and millet is another one. So 30 totally different fruits, vegetables, and grains throughout the week. The other king of the microbiome, triple board certified Dr. Zach Bush, who is also an expert on how chemical farming affects the earth, the soil, and then consequently our actual health, our gut microbiome and our health. It talks a lot about how the gut microbiome affects our skin microbiome. And he recommends, in addition to what I just said, of eating foods that are not inflammatory and eating a diverse variety of plant-based foods, also that you get outside, literally into the earth and the water, and really expose yourself to the other microbiomes. We're all part of this big, beautiful sort of organism, and you need to stay connected. So he highly recommends that, as well as, I think actually it was Dr. Zach Bush who also recommended being mindful of exposing yourself to wireless technologies that have a high electrical resonance as well. So keeping your cells hydrated. And yeah, so I always find a way to bring it back to the microbiome. It feels like we're just going to end on that, but we're not, because I haven't wrapped up yet. And before I wrap up, I have a question. It's not my question. It was a question I got from someone named Natalie. And Natalie asks, what do you think of taking a biotin supplement? And my answer to Natalie would be, are you deficient in biotin? Because, well, as any of you who listened to episode 2 of Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea podcast, where we talked about vitamins and supplements, you know my stance on this is, if you are not deficient, and if a medical professional has not prescribed a supplement for the treatment of something, do not take it. So Natalie, anytime you take a supplement that is something you are not deficient in and you have not been prescribed to treat a condition or a problem that you're having, you are just overdosing on that supplement, and or that vitamin or that fatty acid or that mineral, etc. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes that can have very negative consequences. So you're asking me about biotin, and biotin, for example, if taken in excess, can really confuse your thyroid. And that can really confuse your hormones, and that can really confuse your immune system and all kinds of other stuff that I would joyfully get into on an episode all about the thyroid, which obviously, now that I just said that out loud, I'll definitely be doing. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so taking too much biotin because you're trying to help your skin can actually just trigger all kinds of other issues for you. So I think you would have to take quite a lot to be taking enough to mess everything up, but it definitely can happen. And if you don't even know how much biotin you're getting now, you certainly don't want to go and pile more on top of that. So definitely be sure that you are not actually deficient in it. And unless a medical professional has prescribed it to you for some reason, my answer to you is I think you should not take a biotin supplement. So now we're going to wrap up. And as promised, I have for you the top 5 things that I think every single person, whether they have any of the conditions that we talked about or not, should be doing in order to have healthy, glowing, gorgeous skin. So in no particular order. 1, avoid overwashing your skin. I am not going to explain it to you again. I will spare you that. But from your scalp all the way to your gorgeous toes, please, please, please let your natural body oils do their job. 2, eat foods that are not inflammatory and are microbiome friendly. I want to say it the other way because it sounds better. So eat foods that are microbiome friendly and are not inflammatory. 3, stay away from any unnecessary chemicals in and on your body and around your body, and any unnecessary medications. Again, take your necessary medications, but please just cut out the ones that you really don't need to be taking. 4, get plenty of sleep. As I said, beauty sleep is very, very real. And number 5, reduce and manage your stress. And if you don't know how, find the tools, get help, talk to somebody, but reduce and manage your stress. And that is an actual wrap. And I thank you so much, so much, so much for being here today. And I am so happy to be back with you guys. I hope you got something useful out of this episode, and I will talk to you soon. Take really good care of yourselves. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. You can follow us on Instagram at _sweetvegan_ or on the Sweet Vegan Coaching Facebook page. Feel free also to check out sweetvegan.net, where you'll find a ton of free recipes, articles, meal plans, and the Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea digital magazine. Have a great day and take good care of yourselves.